got shot.
It was life and death.
Somebody's killed your son.
I think both sides have to come together.
When it comes to African-American men, we only get the mug shot.
You know, it's abnormal.
Was it really worth it?
You gotta be the tough guy.
Tim Jackson presents How to Kill a Black Man, available on Amazon Prime Direct. This is the No More OGs podcast. From controversial topics to creating financial freedom, we will talk to real people about real situations, providing real solutions. No celebrity endorsements, bringing you unfiltered discussions, dope interviews, and giving you the blueprint to create the culture that you will be proud of. So kick back, turn up the volume, and let's get to it. Here's your host, yours truly, Mr. Purpose on Demand, Mr. Retired at 37, Mr. Tim Jackson. Hey guys, it's Tim Jackson with the No More OGs podcast. I'm in beautiful, beautiful Anchorage, Alaska. Check this out. I have an amazing episode with Gwynnedolynn James, you guys. I don't know what's going on, but for some reason my video didn't batch again. I'm gonna probably get me some new cameras, but the audio is fire. Gwen tore it up, you guys. This is a life-changing interview. All the way in Anchorage, Alaska, Gwynnedolynn James, former Mrs. Alaska, is doing her thing. So much game. Tune in, share, like, subscribe. I'll have a picture of her up on the marquee so you can at least see how dope she is. You know, you can feel her presence through the picture. But listen to this podcast. It is life-changing. All right, y'all, I'm going to see you on the other side. Let's get it. What's going on? It's your man, Tim Jackson. This is the No More OGs podcast. I'm your host, and I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, you guys, check out the documentary Tim Jackson Presents How to Kill a Black Man on Amazon Prime right now. We got to make that the #1 documentary in the world. It's taking off everywhere I'm going. People are saying they watched it. I'm bumping into random people. Somebody on my plane had watched the documentary. It was the coolest thing in the world. So check out that. Also, check out the book, Real Dope, an in-depth comparison between real estate and the dope game. It's on Amazon Prime as well. If you live in a prime city, it'll be at your house by tomorrow. If you live in Alaska, it might take 2 weeks, okay? But listen, we are here today, and as always, you know the book, I don't make a single penny off of that. 100% of the proceeds go to Real Youth Mentoring, the nonprofit organization that teaches young Black boys entrepreneurship, leadership, business. All of our boys graduate with a 700 plus credit score. If they go to a community college or go to trade school, we pay for it. Y'all know how we get down. So I've been doing this, man. The receipts and the invoices are there. Go find them yourself. But say, listen, I am in beautiful Anchorage, Alaska. You guys, this is not a backdrop. That is actually a frozen ocean and downtown. Man, if you guys don't know, I was stationed in Alaska about 22 years ago. This is my first time coming back, and I've had the great pleasure of just seeing some old friends, running into some people. I'm actually here today with a guest who has just done some amazing things out here in A-Town, Anchorage, Alaska. It's funny, when I got stationed out here, I used to think that no Black people lived here. And then I realized I had family out here, but there's so many Black people out here because of the Army and the Air Force. And Anchorage is actually a vibe. You just need to hop on that wave and see what's up. So I'm going to introduce a young lady. Man, I'm going to let her tell you all the stuff she did, but she was Mrs. Alaska. We're going to talk about that. She's an entrepreneur. She has group homes. She does foster care. She's a real estate investor. She has her hand in a little bit of everything. If you live in Anchorage, Alaska, you know this guest. Whether you love her, like her, or you are indifferent, she going to walk in the room. She going to be herself. And you just gonna have to figure it out. If you ain't down with it, you down with it. Some people might say she funny acting, but you know, when you in your own lane, a lot of people gonna accuse you of being a certain kind of way. So I'm gonna present to some and introduce to others my girl, Miss Gwynnedolynn James.
Hey, it is me, Gwynnedolynn James from Anchorage, Alaska, born and raised. I do like to say that I was raised in Japan. I spent 7 years there.
Okay. Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa. I don't know none of that language, man. So, you know, that was over 20 years ago. But I am here in Alaska. I don't think that I will ever move. This is my home. I love it here.
Home for you, huh?
It's home for me. But yeah, like Tim was saying, we met back in
2002,
yeah,
at the Kashim Club.
Right after I graduated high school.
I graduated in 01, came straight to the military. That was right after 9/11. I got up here. We had this club on base called the Kashim Club, right? You remember that? It was right across the dorms. It was you and a couple of your homegirls. I still keep in touch with all of y'all, as a matter of fact.
That's
like
what's up.
every single one of y'all, I keep in touch with y'all. And so I always tease our one friend, Crystal, because after the club one night, I think y'all came to our dorms.
Yeah.
And you were 18, but Crystal was still 17.
Yeah.
But Crystal had the fake ID. Crystal had the fake ID.
Right.
So somehow, no, I said, how old are you? She was like, I'm old enough. I said, no, player, how old are you?
No, facts.
Yeah, because I ain't turned 19 yet.
Right.
But, you know, I know we would have been in high school together, but the Air Force don't look at it like that.
Yeah,
they look
they
at you as
don't.
underage,
Right,
homie.
right.
And so I said, no, you're going to have to get the hell up out of here, man.
Okay,
So,
listen, that part.
listen, until this day, me and her joke about that. But you know what, man? I've always been impressed by you, even from the time that I met you coming out of high school. Like, you were just a woman determined. Like, wasn't nobody getting in your way. Wasn't nobody telling Gwen what she wasn't going to do.
Right.
Wasn't nobody, like, Gwen was like a 37-year-old woman straight out of high school. Like, you had your shit together.
Happen. You got to make stuff happen. And I get that, honestly, probably from my mom.
Yeah.
She was a single mother, raised my sister and I on her own. And I just saw her determination. I saw the things that she persevered through in the military. And so that was like, I was like, mama can't be stopped. I was like, I'm just going to ride off of her coattail.
Yeah.
And so things that I wanted to do, things that I aspired to do. Yeah, it was difficult, but you know, you just get it done. So back in 2012, a lady approached me at church and she was like, hey, you should do Mrs. Alaska. You know, I was married at the time. And you had to, for this particular pageant, you had to be married. I didn't know nothing about pageants.
Yeah.
And I said, ma'am, I'm not into that. I said, I just want to be a wife. I want to be a mother. I said, I don't have time for that. I'm at the height of my career. And if you guys don't know, like, Alaska, I mean, you can make money here.
You can listen.
Like,
Let's stop right there. You can make money. And they literally pay you to live here in Alaska. Like, a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we get our annual dividends, and it's based off of our oil revenues that we make every year.
Yeah.
So the state, gives us the funds back, right, for each household member. So that's cool. We got people moving here just to get the annual dividend. You got some families that are 10, 12 deep. They all get a check. 1 year, I think our check was close to $4,000. Every household member got a check. So listen, that's $40,000 plus.
So I know
some people don't make that in a year.
I know somebody that resided up here, but was going back and forth to Texas a lot.
Oh yeah.
And so when they went to go file their dividend, they were like, "No, you didn't spend. You have to spend so much time up here to get the bread." And they were like, "Damn," you know. And they track it because, of course, when you fly in and fly out, they can see when you're coming and going.
They absolutely can. Now the only way around that is if you have a property up here and you come back and check on it. If you're military, you know, like, you can't get around having a PCS, but you come back and you check on your property with the intent of coming back and moving here at some point down in the future. So there's workaround. My mom, when we lived in Japan 7 years, we still got our dividend because she had property here. We came back every year. So there's workarounds. But I was working for an oil and gas company up here, and man, I'm telling you, I was at the height of my career. The income was good. I was off every other Friday. We was on a plane.
You was doing it, man.
I was on a plane on Thursday nights, going to Seattle, going to LA, whatever. You know, just living the life. And so the lady approached me about the pageant. I said, listen, not in my horizon, in my horoscope. I've never seen myself doing that.
Yeah.
And anyway, my husband was like, just do it. It'll be something different. I was like, okay. So anyway, did it. Didn't win, but I was like, this is mine. Like, when I'm on stage, I mean, the whole crowd was there for me. And that's really not what it was about. And it was such a learning experience.
I thought you won.
I did.
Okay, my bad. Let me let you finish the story.
This is the first year I competed in 2012. Cool. And so I went and I was like, this is my year. Like, I knew it. And it humbled me because I think I got, I was second runner up that year.
Yeah.
But it humbled me because I was like, I got this in the bag. I gone to the gym and I lost all this weight. I'm looking amazing doing all this. If anybody
knows Gwen, Gwen does not have a shortage of confidence.
No, I do not.
Gwen, y'all can't see this. Gwen is what, 5'10" or 5'11"?
5'11".
Gwen 5'11". So when if I take a picture next to her, and she can't have on heels, right?
No.
You can't be taller than me because she's 5'11". You've always been like super in shape. You know what I'm saying? So like you're intimidating to some people.
I know.
You know?
I don't try to be, but I get that a lot. Like, you know, I get a lot of men that are like, you're intimidated. I can't approach you. I'm like, I don't know. That's on you. That's on you.
That's another show for another day. Because a lot of these cats just be, and I'll say this because this is an accountability show. A lot of these cats just don't have their shit together. And so when you approach a woman, any woman who has their shit together, And I always say we raise our girls and we coddle our boys. So the girls are being raised by the black household and the boys are being coddled. I'm on the record saying that. I see it all the time.
Yes.
Anyone who has brothers can tell you, yes, my mama used to cuss us out and talk us crazy, but my brother got to do whatever, right? So then when you get into the real world, because you were 19, 18 with your own place. I remember you had your own apartment in Alaska.
Yeah.
When rent was higher than the motherfucker. We was getting,
and I ain't care what I had to do to get my rent. I was just like, I worked at JC Penney's.
Dog, you had like 3 jobs, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that's what let me know, like, you're a go-getter, because back then, we were getting housing stipends, BAH, and we were having roommates, and you had your own place back then. So I was like, this girl gets it. But to my point is that when you have someone, whether it be a man or a woman, someone who's intimidated by you, it's typically because they have their own shortcomings. They're not willing to either address or change. And so we see it more in the black community with the men and the women, like, man, she too independent, she too strong, she too this. And it's just like, nah, man, maybe you need to step your shit up too, because this isn't the 1950s where men go to work and women stay home. The black women make more than black men now. You know what I'm saying?
And at this point in my life, I'm almost 40.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to babysit and help a man get to where they feel confident enough to walk beside me. Either you got it or you don't. And until that comes, I'm good being by myself. That's just where I'm at. That's that. Now I digress. Right. So anyway, going back to 2012, I thought I had it in the bag. I just knew it. And then I got second runner up. And then the next year, the same lady approached me. She's like, try again. I said, lady, I poured everything I had into that. I said, because I was only going to do it once. And it was about a week before the deadline. And my husband was deployed. And he called. He was like, why don't you do that pageant? He's like, I get back the day of the pageant. I'm like, all right. Anyway, long story short, I did it the second year, gave it almost no effort. And I felt like when I didn't try so hard, when I was just naturally me,
you're preaching right now.
I went in the interview. I'm just talking to the people.
Don't miss this, y'all.
And just be authentic and be yourself. You can't exchange that for anything. Before I was trying, I was reading questions. I'm like, okay, this is how I'm going to answer this. This is how I'm going to.
Here's what I've done. Here are my accomplishments. Here's everything that I used to do. I used to walk into a room and literally spit out my resume, and people didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And then when I start walking to the room, like, I'm here. I noticed that people start gravitating to me, like, who's that guy? What's he about?
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're authentic and you're you. And I went on that stage. Like I said, I almost didn't even try. And I took the crown that night, and I'm almost like the rest is history, because the previous Mrs. Alaska that had been African-American, I think she won in the 80s.
Damn.
Prior to me in 2013, when I finally took the crown, that was almost 30 years that somebody had, of color, had taken a crown. Now, of course, I think there may have been like some Polynesians, Hawaiians,
natives and stuff like that.
Yeah, they were melanated, but not African-American.
Yeah.
And so for other little black girls, it was like, wow, she looks like me. I look like her. So when I went to nationals, my pageant coach was like, don't go down there trying to be all natural and Afrocentric. Listen, I wore an afro. I didn't wear it on stage, but I wore it like in my interviews when I was walking around the hotels, because that's me. I'll wear my hair big and poofy because that's what I represent. That's what every little black girl out here represents. They mama got to tug and pull on their hair to get it a certain kind of way.
Get them tangles out.
Yeah. And I wanted them to know that it's possible to stand on this stage and be unique and be different. So that was a pivotal moment for me. And like I said, it's been a blessing.
Let's park right there for a second, because as a black, I was talking this morning I try to go live every day. And I talked about being a successful black person is literally the hardest thing in the world. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you're going to always be too black for white people. And you're going to always be too white for black people.
That's
like
true.
you literally, there's no balance. Like you're like, hey, I'm going over here to get this money, get these resources, get this information so I can bring it back to you, bring it back to our community. But the people over here, not all, I'm just giving examples.
Yeah.
But a lot of them don't want you there.
Right.
And then when you get it and you try to come back with it, a lot of them don't want it from you.
Right.
And so you said, being your authentic self. I remember when I was in corporate, when I was in the military, my military career was very short-lived and a lot of headaches, right? Mainly self-inflicted headaches. I'm not gonna, one thing about this trip has been like a healing trip for me, because, I left the military abruptly, and right, even though that wrong was made right, and I was able to get everything that I was, that was designed for me and that was meant for me from the military, even a letter of apology, so to speak.
Yeah.
I had an interesting military career. So when I got into corporate, I always felt the need to like, all right, let me overcompensate. Let me show them that I'm not the stereotype. Let me show this and that. And I would walk into rooms sometimes feeling like I was overcompensating, and that I became a corporate trainer. I was on one of the largest teams to launch the first Android phone in the United States, traveling around the world. And I always felt like I had to walk in a room and prove myself. And then after I got out of that job and started working for myself, I realized like fuck them people. Like I'm me. There's somebody watching me who needs what I have to offer. And if I have to come in this room and have to convince you to like me or convince you to accept me, I don't need to be in this room.
Right.
Because you don't have to convince your target audience.
That's true.
And when you become authentically yourself, the doors that you could never have imagined open up, because authentic people want to be around authentic people, and authentic people come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. So if you want to say something on that, comment on that, like, because I know I've watched you. You know, I'm a people watcher, and since I've known you, I've always said, man, Gwen gonna be somebody like she separates herself from people. We got a lot in common because some people don't like me, but they respect me. They
have to. They absolutely have to respect you, because if you didn't do them nothing wrong, there's no reason for them to not respect you. It would just be hate at that point. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna and people use "you're a hater" so freely. However, it is what it is.
It is
like,
what it is.
Yeah,
we often associate hate. We often associate accountability with hate. You know what I'm saying? Like if you tell somebody, hey, you out of pocket, you just hating.
Right.
What you hating for?
Right.
Like, no, I'm not hating. I'm just telling you on some bullshit right now.
Right.
You just, I got to get from around you. No, okay, that's fine. You can get from around me. You still going to be a piece of shit over there.
Right.
And what's going to happen is eventually 2 or 3 or 4 more people are going to tell you the same thing. And then you're going to realize
a reality check.
That I was coming to you from a place of love. And when you finally realize that and start licking your wounds and you come back over here, I ain't going to push you back. I'm just going to say, okay, now that you know I wasn't bullshitting, how we going to change it?
Right. Right. Absolutely. You know? I totally agree with that. After I left corporate America, I said I would never work for another organization again. I would only work for myself. I had an incident where I had missed my flight in, where were we at? Oh, in Miami. Missed my flight coming back, and I'm sitting there in tears. Oh my God, I have reports due. They're going to fire me. And I was like, oh my God. And the irony of it all is that it ended up being a snow day, a weather day. Like nobody went to work that day. And so it really wasn't even a big deal in the grand scheme of things. However, that feeling that I had that I was going to get fired.
They can take this away from me. They can take it away from
me. And I never wanted that feeling again. I tell my friends, my sister, I tell her all the time, I said, I will never have that feeling again, because I have built myself to where I can work for myself. I can hire people.
Oh, you preaching.
You feel me?
You preaching.
Like, you have to get to a place in life. And I'm not, you got to work for somebody. Somebody has to work for somebody.
Because even as entrepreneurs, we work for people. That's not what you're saying. What you're saying is that because a lot of people associate having a job with not having freedom. No, the financial aspect is what gives you freedom. That's why everyone who has worked in corporate remembers that y'all had that old white coworker, it's probably a chick, who used to come to work and was just all happy and didn't give a fuck, because she was like, she knew that at any given moment she could say fuck this job, because she got money back home. Absolutely. They don't have a lot. Their cost of living is low. They don't have a lot of bills. Literally, that's it. We work to pay bills. So if you eliminate your debt or you create assets that can pay for you, you can work wherever the fuck you want to.
Right.
And we have come to the point where we think when a person like me or you says I'll never work for someone, that we're shitting on people that have jobs. No, we're not. We're just saying there's a certain level of freedom that I want to establish for myself, whether I'm working for you or not, and that's all about me. That's all about you not being able to take anything away from me.
Right. Absolutely. And you brought up debt. Like, America's in so much debt, but we got to get ourselves out of debt. We have to. And what that means, just delayed gratification for things. You don't have to go and get the range and get the G-Wagon and the this and the that, or take extra trips. If you don't got it, you don't got it. You don't put it on your credit card. You feel me? Like, pay cash for things when you can, or cut certain things off. Like all these subscriptions that people are, and subscriptions are, they're like the devil, I swear, because you don't even realize you have all these like little subscriptions hitting your card every month. You know what I'm saying?
I literally purchased an app. So I'm building an app right now for my people. And the guy building my app, he says, Tim, you have And he started naming out all these services I pay for: a contact manager service, a website service. He says, you're paying for 5 of the exact same services. I can literally help you eliminate that. Like, that's an easy $500 a month.
Yeah.
And I've just been paying, like, literally just going through eliminating what my output.
Right.
I'm like, damn, I didn't even know. I just thought I was paying for something. He's like, no, you're over consuming. And you said something, I want to park here just for a second. You said, you don't have to go out there and get all this nice stuff to show that you have it. Like, I always say specifically within our community that we hustle for the cherry on top and not the cake. We hustle to be seen and not felt. And there's nothing wrong with a nice car, because I'm going to pull up in something decent.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with staying in nice hotels.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with going on nice trips, because like you, I like to travel.
Right.
I'm also cheap than a motherfucker. Like I'm like, there's certain things I just ain't going to pay for.
Right.
You know what I'm
but
saying?
Isn't that weird though? Because like there's some things that's like, okay, I'll go and buy, $6,000 car or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I'll turn around. I'm not paying $13.99 for a bag of chips, in the gas station.
So wait a minute, wait a minute. So last night at the American Legion. So
God.
So I mean, I'm sitting up here, I'm wearing an expensive watch ring. I'm me. I'm pulling up in the car. I'm pulling up in. And I'm looking at the menu, and I guess I couldn't really see it because it was dark, and it was like the wings. I said, damn, they want $24 for some wings? I said, they proud. I said, I might as well go back to the hotel and order room service. So the person was like, I thought you was rich. I said, no, I'm wealthy. Rich is quiet. Wealth is flashy. Like, if I spend $24 on an 8-piece wing, I ain't going to be wealthy that long. So we laughed about it, and the wings ended up being $14. I just thought I saw it too. But I was literally sitting there making a life decision. Like, I can just come up to the concierge lounge and get me some fruit and some water,
snacks, a little yogurt.
Because I couldn't justify spending $24 on some club wings. But
I'm telling you, it's amazing like how our minds shift like that, and it's a good thing though that your mind can shift in those moments and be like, well, hold on a minute, I'm gonna think about this one.
Yeah.
But again, delayed gratification in our young people, like I'm telling you, our 19, 20s, even into the early 30s. They're watching the hip hop stars. They're watching social media, and that's what they even like their body images, and they're going to get all this body work done. That's what they're seeing, and that's what they want, and that's what they just want a sugar daddy or a sugar mama, somebody to help them get to look like what they're seeing in these magazines. I think I read a study one time. 3 minutes of watching or flipping through just like a Vogue or Elle magazine can cause severe depression in a female. In 3 minutes of just flipping through the book, because even though they're not saying it out loud, they're subconsciously judging, comparing themselves to what they're looking at on the pages.
Now that's real, man. It's when I go speak at schools, specifically black schools. I always say, "What do you want to be when you graduate, grow up?" 99% of the time they say they want to play a sport. I want to rap. I want to play ball. Okay. When that doesn't work out, not to say that you're not going to be good enough, but the statistics show that that's not going to work out for you unless you are an anomaly person that has a great talent. Not to say that you don't, but the numbers say that you have a better chance of being a forensic scientist or working for NASA as a scientist than you getting into the rap game. I've had NFL clients, rap clients. Like, I understand the trajectory of that. They don't have a backup plan because all they're seeing all day is these young, guys from the hood getting money, which it ain't real money. You and I both know that that's not real money. And then they don't see enough Tims. They don't see enough Gwynns. Like when we come to the hood, we look like, we square. I don't want to be like, that's an old dude.
Right.
So it's like, no one's like putting more images in front of our kids. And like you said, 3 minutes of watching, looking at a magazine, 5 minutes on social media. They're on social media all day long.
Day, just scrolling, going. And I'm like, I even watched my daughter, and she's like, "Mom, look at this." And I'm like, baby, put the phone down sometimes because, you're just scrolling through these people are filtered. And I'm talking about not just filtered from the camera. I'm talking about just their lifestyle is filtered, and then they look amazing.
Because me and you show up to the lifestyle. We be like, oh, you're not really that person. Right. And then they quit fucking with us because they don't want people like us around to expose them.
Exactly. Go back to being authentic. And I don't know, at the end of the day, it's going to take the Tims, it's going to take the Gwynns, and it's going to take our community that's like us to make the difference in our community, our melanated kids. And it can bleed into the other cultures as well. However, the Black community just, our kids are just so shorted because of what they think is the life. I have one of my kiddos, she wants to be a singer. She can sing. She needs a lot of work and some tuning, right? And she's like, I'm just gonna be a famous singer. I'm getting me a G-Wagon. I'm gonna buy you an $8 million house. And I'm like, girl, I don't need all that. I didn't ask for all that. I said, you already starting off on the wrong foot. You know what I'm saying?
Speak on it.
And you wanna sing? That's great. Like, what do you want to sing about? Do you want to be a Christian artist? Do you want to be a secular artist? What do you want to do? And if that doesn't work out, what is your next plan? She doesn't have that yet, but she's young. She's 14 years old. But again, she's looking at everything online. I want the G-Wagon. I want, the house on Beverly Hills. And I said, girl, you got a long way to go.
I try to tell people that's the cherry on top, not the cake. One, two, you can't afford the maintenance.
Yes.
A friend of mine once bought a Benz, right? And so we bought new cars around the same time. I bought a Lexus. She bought a Benz. So about 9 months later, she pulls up. She's like, Tim, we went to go grab coffee. She's like, Tim, I just had to buy a brand new set of tires today. I'm like, why? She said, because you can't rotate the tires on my Benz. She said the front set and the back set are two different sizes, so they can't be rotated. I just spent $1,700 on a new set of tires. I was like, dang,
Right.
I said, well, that's what keeps people broke is the maintenance of those things. And being someone that's been in real estate, for 20 years, a former zoning commissioner. So I saw it from a zoning standpoint of people abandoning their properties and losing their properties for zoning reasons, and also saw it from a sales and investment side. Most of those big houses that you see, people can't maintain it. One, if it's not two people in the household that are working, bringing the income in, and two, if their expectations are unrealistic. Because when a plumbing problem happens, insurance ain't paying for plumbing.
No, they're not.
That's a $20,000 job easily.
I tell you, my furnace went out this week, and I was just like, got back from vacation. I'm like, okay, New Year, and I walk in the house. My house inside was 41 degrees. You can see your breath blowing in the house. And I was like, I told my kids, I said, get them same suitcases we just unloaded and put them back in the car. We're gonna go stay at a hotel till they can finish the furnace. Furnace easily $7,000.
That's easy.
It's easy. You know what I'm saying? And then they can't fix it till next week.
Because it's the holidays.
It's a holiday. So then you got to go and now you got to pay for a hotel. Insurance not covering that.
Insurance is not covering that.
So it's like you have to prepare for those things. And that's why you can't live paycheck to paycheck.
And that's what bankrupts people. We always try to travel during Christmas time. So one year we went to Florida. As soon as we got there, one of my tenants in my property's called was like, Mr. Tim, the plumbing went out. I was like, Christmas Eve?
Right.
You can't flush the toilet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I had to scramble. I got some porta potties out there. No one could come and fix the plumbing. Like everyone was gone. Like all of my contractors were out of town. So what we ended up doing was, we took care. We told her, don't worry about rent, for that month because I inconvenienced you,
Right.
Second thing we did was we put her up in a hotel the next week until when the plumbers came and fixed everything. Gwen, that was a $22,000 job because they had to dig around the entire house. They couldn't go straight through. Digging itself was like $250, $300 per foot. You know what I'm saying? So just in itself, and the insurance, we found a way to get the insurance to pay for some of it, but the plumbing went out on that house again because the contractor did a shady job. So they had to pay someone another $10,000 to come back. Dang. Then another contractor had to come back and fix his work. So that was another $8,000.
Oh, come on, man.
Just on one house, I spent $35,000 on plumbing. That would have broke the average person.
Yeah, and they would have walked away from the property.
They would have walked away.
I
told y'all this real estate stuff don't work. But again, that's the maintenance that comes with the lifestyle. And a lot of these kids, a lot of adults for that matter, don't understand that cherry on top will have you broke.
Oh, yeah.
And so we have to delay our gratification, one. But two, like it's okay to have nice things, but rich is flashy, wealth is quiet. You don't have to go prove anything to me. I'm not paying that bill.
Right.
Yeah, when that AC goes out, I'm gonna refer you to my guy,
right.
but I ain't gonna pay for it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I feel like now coming into the new year, I think that people like me and you are speaking loudly about this, and people are starting to realize, like, why am I trying to pretend to be someone I'm not?
Right. For
people who don't give a damn about me.
Yeah. I think about properties and then just encouraging people in your circles.
Yeah.
Your circles should be small anyway. There's that. But then they go and share with their circle and then their circle and their circle. And that can help the snowball effect, right? But I tell my friends, I'm like, if you got extra, put that on your principal. pay your houses off. Pay them houses off quicker. That when you get into your retirement phases of your life, or if you want to retire early, have that stuff paid off.
So y'all, Gwen has never done a podcast before. Gwen has never watched my podcast. That's literally what we teach on here. Like I have a client that I sold a house to, a husband and a wife couple. She and I went to college together, and they bought a house about 5 years ago. They have 2 small children under the age of 4, and they paid their house off in 5 years. I taught them how to pay their house off. You know, like 1, making additional payments, 2, you know, just teaching the snowball effect, and then taking that snowball and paying it off. She's a nurse practitioner, and I believe he's in engineering, or he does something like that. I'm not sure what he does, but they are under 40 with 2 kids in a paid off house. Like that is a really good life to have, right?
I'm trying to tell you, it's freeing, and you wake up without a worry in the world. Yes, things are going to come your way, little things or whatever, but
you're prepared for it.
Yes, the stress of like, oh my God, do I have enough for mortgage this month? Or I don't know, the electricity went out, or whatever it is. Man, you don't have to worry about those type of things, and that will prolong your life. Because you're not stressed.
Speak on it, man.
You're not stressed anymore. You know,
stress causes strokes.
I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you. Like I feel like stress is one of the things that took my father out of this world, and finances was one of the things.
The number one killer is heart disease. Yeah, more than cancer, more than anything. Heart disease is directly impacted by stress and worrying.
Absolutely.
Right? And a lot of people won't acknowledge that. But I want to park there for a minute because I want to ask you, what do you think it's going to take for people collectively to understand that you have to be prepared for life and not, and live your life based on your preparations and not based on other people's expectations? Because I did it. When I was 18, I was up here in Alaska. I made the worst financial decision. Like I was 18 years old in a brand new. You were at Impala. I had a brand new Impala, souped up. Like all of us had new cars. We used to go down to Club Millennium and parking lot pimp stuff. Like we had the new watches. We were so.
We had it all. We thought.
Hey, listen. I always tell people, ain't nobody gonna do it like we did it. Like
no, there's no era like
Please,
that. There's no era like that. So
y'all know I'm not lying. Like the era between 2001 and 2003, 2004, when we were up here, nobody will ever duplicate what we did.
They'll never touch it.
We were some damn movie stars.
I wish I could go back to that time in life. Like it was just to relive it one more time. It was a movie. It was a movie.
And we were 18.
Yes.
We were 19. We were 20. Yes. We were living better than I used to laugh because I remember when I got my car, I got put under investigation at my squadron because they were like, how's a 19-year-old pulling up with a car at the time from Alaska Sales and Service?
But again, that was a hater. That was a
hater.
One of your sergeants or somebody that was mad because they was at home with, I don't know, in debt with 4 kids and a wife
living on base,
griping at them, living on base. Exactly. That was a hater.
And this 19-year-old kid from Dallas got an 800 credit score, you know what I'm saying? Like killing it. Yeah. But it's like, that was my mother teaching me how my mother used to leave her paycheck stubs out on the counter every time she got paid so that we would teach us how to read them, teach us what medical, dental, FICA, retirement was. Yeah. She used to, as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, I've been seeing my mother's paycheck since then, right? And so I understood what to do, what not to do. My mother taught us about credit at a young age, like subconsciously, like pay your bills on time. This is when you mailed your bills off, or we would go to the mall. Before my mom would go shopping at the mall, she would always stop by customer service and pay her bill. And I didn't know what she was doing until I got older. Like, that's what mom was doing. But we're getting back now into that whole financial literacy thing because we teach people how to get out of debt, how to create wealth. I don't think that credit is a bad thing. I just think that the way you use credit, because trust me, I put everything on my credit card so I can get them points. So I can get up in these lounges and get up my first class. But I'm paying them back down at the end of the month because I don't want the interest and I don't want the the debt that comes with it. But when do you think that this is a year, a renaissance year, the Kobe year, the Mamba year, as they say, where people are going to finally start, it's going to start clicking for our people that a shift has to take place?
Well, it's going to take the us's to continue to educate. That's really what it is educate, having seminars, having podcasts. Yeah. Like you said, I've never done one of these before, but I think it's very, very dope. It can reach the masses.
I couldn't have come here without talking to you. Like I was in your inbox like, Gwen, I'm going to be in Alaska. And you never check your inbox. So.
I know. But it's going to take educating and then one person to teach the next and then teach the next.
Right.
And really getting in those, like your mentoring program, getting in there. I'm going to go home and I'm about to sit down with my kids again. I tell tell them all the time. I mean, my kids are set up.
Yeah.
Like they are set up. But just our conversation today, I can't wait for them to actually see this.
They're gonna love it.
You know, and they're gonna love it. They're gonna hear it, and they're gonna take some notes and just apply more things to their life. One thing I will say is set your kids up.
Yeah.
For financial freedom, financial wealth. Like with my daughter, I have her on my credit cards, her social. So her credit score is always going to be good as long as she do what she's supposed to do.
Man, I've been teaching the piggyback method for over a decade.
You feel me? So my mom did that for me. I had my name on a credit card in 1984 when I was born.
Yeah, that's when they. hey, listen, that was when they had the credit card machine. Yeah. You put the thing on there, they used to swipe it across. Yeah. it had the carbon copy.
Yeah, and J. Jacobs, Lamont's, and that's how he.
Your mom had that Woolworth card, huh?
Yes, sir. Shoot, Sears and Roebuck.
Sears and Roebucks, yeah.
So that was the card she had me on, Sears and Roebucks. I was 0 years old.
Montgomery Ward.
Yes. But she set me up early. So by the time I went to go get my first car, I already had a 750 credit score. And I'm like, whereas all my friends, they didn't have anything established.
Didn't have anything.
So they either had to put a bunch down or have a family member sign with them.
Co-sign.
Yeah. So I don't want that for my kids, and I'm teaching them so that they can teach their kids and then their kids. And we can continue to build, that generational wealth.
It's funny you say that because when I went and bought my car, I know you remember John and Charles, all those guys I used to hang around with. So we went and played basketball on base. And then we left the gym, had on basketball shorts, T-shirts. We went up to Alaska Sales and Service. I think it's called something else now.
Yeah.
And
I think it's the same. It's the same.
It's something. Yeah. So we went up there. We walked in the door. No one talked to us. No one. Like we walked, looked around, no one said anything. Yeah. So this older white guy comes over. He's like, "Hey, anybody helped you guys?" I'm like, "Nah, ain't nobody talked to me at all." He's like, "Come on, what you looking for?" I told him I was looking for. He was like, "I got something better for you." So he just, without checking my credit, without doing anything, he took me on a test drive in the car that I ended up buying, that Impala. And that's when they had redesigned the body style. So you couldn't tell me nothing.
Right.
So I mean, fully, chrome wheels, leather seats, all that stuff. So he goes to run my credit. And I'll never forget him typing in the information and just sitting back like this. And he was like, "Damn." He said, "You have better credit than 90% of the old white people that walk in here." He was like, my middle score was like a 779. He said, so he called the general manager over. He says, "I want you to meet Mr. Jackson." Right. First time somebody to call me Mr. Jackson. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Mr. Jackson."
What it is.
And so the guy was like, "Who helped you when you came in?" I said, "No one." He said, "Really?" It was a black guy named Kevin Launders. I don't know if Kevin Launders is still alive or what.
Right.
And so he said, "1 second." So I bought the wheel package. I got all the I was always taught to get these packages for protection. They called and rounded up every salesperson that was standing outside and brought them over to us. And the general manager said, "This guy walked in and no one spoke to him. He's 19. He's a 19-year-old kid who's got better credit than 90% of your clients."
And probably all of y'all standing in here.
He literally said that. All of y'all standing there. He says he's not having to put no money down. He's trading in a car and we're actually giving him a rebate for $10,000. He's going to drive off this lot with no money down, a super low interest rate. And the other guy, the sales guy, is about to get his biggest commission of the month. All because you all looked at him and judged him just because he had on basketball shorts. Until this day, I go buy cars and sweatpants and a T-shirt because I want to see how they're going to treat you. But the power of being in the position, because my parents taught me how to move, how to use my money, even though I splurge a little bit.
Right.
They gave me that foundation to know how to bring it back in. And that's something I'm teaching my son. And you were talking about your daughter. My son texted me this morning. He's like, "Dad, I finally know what school I want to go to," because he's applying for high schools. I'm going to look at this law program over here at this school. And it just warmed my heart because I didn't have to pump and prime him to do that. That was something that he wanted to do because he's watching me. Right. And they watch us. They watch us.
They definitely watch.
They watch everything.
Yeah, every move. And that's why you got to be careful what you do. Your kids shouldn't be privy to everything.
Yeah.
But when you got positive things going on, you definitely need to have them in the room. Don't let them stay in their room, video games, or stay home when you got like a convention to go to. If the kids can be at that convention, take them with you.
I take William everywhere. Like he's not here because he's with his mom. But typically he's on the plane with me. When I go speak, every time I have a speaking engagement, William is my wingman. Yeah. To the point where people know him by name. It's like, yeah, man, like I want him to see this.
I bet he could probably set up all this stuff for you.
Man,
you know
William
what I'm saying?
Stuff, man.
I already know.
You already know.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think we need to, like, too many people make their kids their friends. Like I grew up in an era where if grown folks are in the room talking, one, you ain't supposed to be in there.
Right.
But if you are in there, you better shut your mouth. Like you don't button no grown folk conversation.
Right.
And it's like now I feel like, you know, we came through that get it out the mud generation where we saw our parents hustle and some of us saw our parents struggle or some of us saw our parents work really hard. So we learned that. And now we're raising a bunch of kids that aren't going through a struggle because, you know, we're not struggling
Things are
anymore.
too easy for them.
Yeah. So I create struggles for my children, for my son.
Yeah.
You know, like I tell him no at least 10 times a day so he can understand rejection.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, I don't want him to go out into the real world and face rejection and then not know how to handle it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you want to add something to that before we get to the next point,
one thing like with my kids is advocation. They need to be able to advocate for themselves. If you don't feel like your teacher's treating you right or your coach or somebody at the church, you can talk to them and talk to them respectfully because they are human beings. And so advocation is really huge. And especially with foster care, a lot of the girls, and I run girls, I don't do boys.
Yeah.
But the girls, like they've been taught to be quiet, like just be mute, accept what life has thrown at you, accept this deck of cards. No.
And that's who the abusers
Baby, we
go
can
after.
shuffle these cards.
Yeah.
We can redeal and then we can figure out what you're going to be in life. Because one of my girls, I adopted her in 2021. She was just dealt a crappy deck of cards. And she was set up for failure from the get-go. You know what I'm saying? Living out of a car, eating ketchup and mustard packages for, you know, dinner and breakfast, just broken up hard ramen. Like those were her meals. And didn't start school till she was about 8 years old, but just threw her in to where she should have been like second grade based on her age. So cognitively, she's delayed. But guess what? In May, that baby's graduating with straight A's. She knows what she wants to be now. Like her life, the trajectory of her life is totally different now. And I thank God that she was put in my care. Because let me tell you, foster care was not something I wanted to do.
I was literally, that's literally where we were transitioning next. How in the world did you get into foster care? Because I know you as being on the go Gwen.
Yes.
Like as long as I've known you, you know, for lack of better words, Gwen was in them streets.
Yes.
Gwen was at every party. Gwen was kicking it. Gwen was the only person I knew. When I saw you at the basketball game for Jazzy's senior game, I'm like, hey, how long you in town? Oh, I'm going back tonight. You flew. You took a one-day trip from Anchorage? Like, yeah, I'm going back tonight. Like, that's the Gwen I know. So when I found out you were a foster parent, I'm like, how?
Yeah, you know, and again, that's a testament to God because like the agencies I work for, they understand my lifestyle. And I told them straight up, I was like, I've always I knew it was a struggle for me to have Pebbles. And so when I had her, I was like, I got my one kid. It's my blessing. There's that. Didn't have any more. But I knew at some point I either wanted to adopt or do foster care. But that was down the road.
Yeah.
At that time in my life, this was back in 2015, my mom had approached me and she was like, Gwen, I'm getting ready to do this training for foster care. I said, Ma, I'll do it like in a few years. Like again, I was at the height of my career. I'm traveling. Pebbles got stuff going on. I didn't know how Pebbles would feel about this. And I just didn't want to approach that with her at that time, right? Had a lot of other stuff going on personally.
Yeah.
So
when you were supposed to be slowing down,
right.
Here come your mama with this new task, right?
Right. And so she said, just do the training with me. So I said, okay, fine. It's a 6-week training. We did the training. And I'm thinking, okay, cool, we're done with the training. But once you're trained and licensed, they can call you at any moment. Like if they get a kiddo and they're like, hey, you're home, you're dynamic. We want you to meet this kid, et cetera, et cetera. They called me like 2 weeks later. And I'm like, whoa, that's too fast. And I said, why don't you call my mom? They were like, nope. They need a 2-parent household. Like they need a young, vibrant, like mom.
They have
figure.
it down to a science.
Yes. And I was like, oh Lord. I said, what are you doing? And so anyway, met this little girl, fell in love with her. And the rest is history, honestly. So, but I've had so many girls come through my home, like even if it's 2 weeks, even if it's 2 years, and then they maybe reunification is always the goal, to get back with their bio parents.
Absolutely.
But sometimes it doesn't work out that way, or they get like a adoption opportunity with a different, sometimes the vibe is not good with me or whatever, but just helping them transition into adulthood has been phenomenal. All my kids call me back. They were like, hey, y'all got food? Or hey, can we go hang out? Can we go to Dave & Buster? And that's to me, that's a compliment.
It is.
Y'all still love me. Y'all still, even though I'm hard on them, and I want them to be the best that they can be. But
being my background is in education. My wife is an educator. She's been in education forever. Mm-hmm. Kids value and need discipline, and no matter how hard you are on those kids, they appreciate and they really want that discipline. Yeah. They just don't know how to articulate, like you said before, how to communicate and speak for themselves because they've been taught in many cases that you don't talk back to adults or, you're always wrong. If an adult tells you something, you think about a situation with foster care, a lot of kids that are abused who don't speak, they've been taught their whole lives that you don't talk back to an adult or if adult tells you to do something, you do it. Mm-hmm. So they're naturally complying to, detrimental situations that aren't going to benefit them. And that's why they're easily targeted for abuse. Right. So when you get a child, most kids, they want that discipline. They want that love. And when they get older, they appreciate it because when they start having kids and when they get out in life, they'll go back and say, oh, that's what Miss Gwen was talking about. Oh, that's what Mr. Tim, I get so many of my boys from the mentoring program call me now and we were having lunch and coffee. They're like, Mr. Tim, when you were teaching us about credit scores and buying houses and we were 13 or 14, that stuff was going in one ear and we thought it was going out the other, but it was parking up here. And now, I'm 21, I have a career, I'm buying my house and my credit score is perfect. Like that was stuff you taught us 7-8 years ago. Yeah. So I commend you for that because, a lot of people wouldn't do that. A lot of people wouldn't do foster care. Yeah.
And it's kind of, it's scary in the beginning. You're opening up your home to strangers, and not just the kids, but you're also inviting their bio families into your world, maybe not into your home, but you might have to arrange visits and go and orchestrate them and sit down at a coffee table with their bio families. And sometimes that can be kind of hard, so.
And a lot of times what people don't, one of the things that we struggle with the most in our mentoring program, Gwen, is the parents sending the kids back to their parents because we've spent 2 or 3 hours with them on the weekend teaching them all these life lessons and then they go back to the parents and the parents are like, oh, that shit don't work. No, why would you do that? And it's like, you're not the prototype. You're like, I'm not trying to shit on mom or dad. Or typically it's mom because dad is nowhere to be found. And even when dad's around, he ain't doing what he's supposed to be doing. But if you have your kid around these people that are going to be a better influence, when we send them home with the information, and they start talking about it because they're naturally excited about this new thing, what you should do is say, that's really interesting, son. Not that don't work. Because now you're creating a dilemma where I know Mr. Tim and Mr. Allen and these guys, they have the best interest for me. But it's my mom. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And mom knows best.
Mom knows best, right? Yeah, she the one that let me go.
So then it kind of gets me thinking, is it even worth doing an hour seminar with parents?
I was literally about to say that. So we literally start creating content and classes that's designed specifically to parents. So when you sign up for our mentoring program, there's a parent portal where you can go in and take classes on credit. Right. You can take classes on the stuff that we teach. Right. That way, when the kids come home and they're talking about this stuff, it can be a conversation you can grow and learn together.
Yeah, absolutely.
I partner with a couple of courts in Dallas, in the city of Dallas. Well, I guess it's Dallas County, where I go and teach this to people who have gotten felonies and they've offended and, they have to go through a program in order to have their felonies lifted or whatever. And then I go to, I work with juveniles and stuff like that, people in prison, mentor people in prison, like anyone who will listen. Yeah. But it's important to teach the adults because one, you're sending your kids back home, and if they don't have the structure and the foundation, it's just going to crumble. So yeah, it's funny you said that. So let's transition a little bit because you've accomplished all these things. Like I said, ever since I've known you, you've been on the go, very faith driven, very firm in your beliefs, very firm in everything you say you're going to do. What are you working on now? Like, what's the next chapter? You said you're about to turn 40. I already crossed that bridge into 40. And it's 40 is 40. And when I tell you, I used to be able to hop on a plane and go across the country last minute and get to the city and get to do my thing. Man, let me tell you something. When I get to this hotel, when I get off that plane,
listen,
I'm going to the hotel. First thing I do, I act like a 90-year-old or a 70-year-old. I unpack all my clothes carefully, hang everything up. My wife has this thing where as soon as we get off the plane, we have to take a shower because she don't want the plane in the room.
I am with her.
I take a nap, and then after we wake up, we go out and do stuff. Yeah. But you're getting into those 40s where this is actually the time statistically most people become millionaires if you haven't already achieved it between the ages of 40 and 45 because you've lived life. You know, there's a saying that says when you're 20, you care what everyone thinks. When you're 40, you don't give a damn what anyone thinks. And when you're 60, you realize no one was thinking about you at all.
Right.
So typically in your 40 to 45 is where you see a lot of people become multimillionaires because they've already bumped their heads so much that they don't really care what you think. They're just going to press.
Right. And I think that's where I'm at in life. 40, like I said, right around the corner, got 4 months. Really want to get back physically, like where I was. In the gym. I know.
Have you been following my journey?
I saw you. I have been following your journey, and I clicked on the on your story today, and I tapped the book, and then I had to hurry up and get here.
Intermittent. So let me tell you what I've done. I want you to finish that thought.
Okay.
In the last 90 days, I've lost 40 pounds. I mean, and it's fallen off on me. Like that suit I had on yesterday was the first time I've ever wore a slim suit, and I was turning heads. Excuse me, I'm married, but thank you for the comment. But
hold on. So you walked in the Legion last night, and my sister, she didn't know who you were, right? And I didn't tell her that you possibly would be coming, and she was like, "Who's this girl?" I said, and I'm down looking at my phone, and I said, "Oh, I don't know," and then. Before I even saw you, I had a feeling it was you. Like a split second, and you come around the corner. I was like, "Oh, it's Tim."
That's Tim.
You know what I'm saying? It's so
Listen,
but nobody had ever seen you before, so it was just like. And then, of course, she didn't know anything about you. She's like, "Okay, sister." I was like, "Girl, bye." He's married, and like that's my friend from the early 2000s. She's like, "Well, I ain't know."
No, it's funny because when we went to the reception after the retirement party, this lady walks up to me. She says, "You know, your suit. You were the talk of the party in that suit." I said, "Ma'am, if you only knew how hard I've been working to get my body right." Because, you know, when my mom got sick this year and I had to become a primary caregiver, mom has never been sick a day in her life. She's never been in the hospital. She worked for the post office. Okay, so that's work. You know what I'm saying? And so for her to get ill and have these ailments, and I just saw, you know, her deteriorating, but I also saw what it did to her mentally because she had never been sick. I made the decision there, like, Tim, you need to get in shape. You need to start eating right. You need to start eating healthy because a lot of her stuff had to do with kind of her diet and some other things. And I just made a commitment. Like I lost a taste for certain foods, man. Me and my sister made a commitment to start juicing and start working out more. And when I tell you, me and her have both lost so much weight and not even trying. It's more of a lifestyle. But I told myself, I'm going to document this and I'm going to tell everyone who will listen how easy it is. Like literally just fasting. I only eat between 12 and 8. I only eat certain things. I start my day with a juice. I end my day with a juice. Like I did the ebook. I did the class. Like when I tell you I can talk about this for an 8-hour plane ride, I can. So when you say I'm trying to get back in health, and I know you have that mentality where when you say you're going to do something, we'll look up 2 months later and it's done. Like, you know, so health and fitness is important to you.
Yeah, it's important to me. Want to continue. I'm closing. Should probably on Monday or Tuesday. Closing on another property.
It's dope.
But and that'll be my 4th here in Anchorage.
It's dope.
But I do want to branch out into other cities.
Okay.
Vegas, Texas. Those are the cities that I'm looking at because I know that the housing markets there are much more affordable than here.
Definitely. And accessible.
Yes.
A lot of people they talk about affordability, but accessibility is even more.
Yes, absolutely.
And Vegas, I don't know who's listening. There's 2 places you need to start focusing on. Vegas and Dallas, in the Dallas-Fort Worth. Dallas, there's a study I read that said that by 2084, there'll be more people in Dallas-Fort Worth than in New York City. As a real estate broker, I studied the migration patterns. So people are migrating to the Dallas-Fort Worth area from the entire United States. But Vegas, there's billions of dollars being put into Vegas right now. Vegas is going to be the entertainment mecca of the world. So I would strongly suggest that you look into Vegas. I've been looking
in Vegas. I looked last year. But you know, you also got to find a real estate agent that you can trust. That's the thing. So I had put some inquiries out there and just didn't get the good feeling about it. So I do have some friends in the area.
I got a guy in Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a guy in Vegas. I'll give you his information when we get off here.
Okay, cool.
Pretty good dude. He does the lifestyle stuff. So he's always showing people who Vegas is and what Vegas has to offer. So he's a frat brother too. So, you know, he'll take care of you. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah. So Nevada and Texas, those are 2 areas that I really want to branch out into and possibly do 2 and 2. And I don't want to limit myself, but I think that if I can secure a good 10 properties, that I'll accomplish what I want to do, and and just consider myself retired. Like that's just
Come on over to the bright side, as I say.
Listen. I mean, and honestly, like right now, I tell people all the time I'm retired. Yeah. They're like, "What does that mean?" And I'm like, "Listen, I don't have time right now to explain all of that because
that means that." If you don't want to get up and do any work, you don't have to get up and do any work. When I retired a few years ago, and I made a point to say I retired at 37, it was interesting the response I got from that.
Yeah.
So from older people, it was more of a, who does this guy think he is? Because our parents were taught that the retirement age was 65. You work on the job for 30, 40 years, you get the gold watch, you get your pension, and you retire. And retirement was always associated with that physical work.
Right.
Well, we're a different generation. Things are online. Things are a lot less hands-on. So retirement for us is just being financially independent, being able to move the way you want to move.
Right.
And retirement isn't flashy. Retirement isn't me rolling around in a $150,000 car, living in a $7 million house.
That's what I'm saying.
Retirement is me being able to get up and get on a plane and go where I want to go on a Tuesday.
Right.
But also being able to make my kids games, my kids practices.
Man, come on, Tim.
I don't think that's what it is.
On,
like,
Tim.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's what I'm saying.
That's retirement. That's the good life. And there's this thing that says that you have to be a certain age to accomplish that. And that's not true.
That's not true at all.
In our age.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do joke a lot with people, and I'm like, I'm retired. And they're like, what does that mean? And I'm like, I don't have to get up and go do anything if I don't want to, but I will be at my kids' recital, at their games. And,
you be out.
But if I want to go, listen, if I want to go to Hawaii tomorrow, I'm going. If you're getting married on Wednesday, I'll be there.
I'll be there.
I'm going to go right back home, but I'll be there.
Well, my boy, if you're retiring in Alaska during the week, I can come see you during the week because then you my guy. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So it is definitely a lifestyle. Retirement to me is a lifestyle that you've worked hard to get there, and maybe because of the work ethic in me, in you. Like you set yourself up for that.
We're not gonna be outworked.
Yeah, no, never.
No,
never.
you ain't outworking us.
No, you're not.
Yeah, ever.
You're not.
That's why I don't compete with people. I tell people it's not a competition.
You can't compete where you don't compare. You just cannot.
You can't. And that's not, a lot of people, when people get it, they get it. When people don't get it, they see that as arrogance. They see that as you think you're better. No, I live in a city where I live in Dallas. Okay. Dallas-Fort Worth is the 5th largest media market. You can catch more direct flights out of Dallas than you can anywhere in the world. Right. Like, I don't have to compete. I'm a black real estate broker. If you're trying to get into real estate, like I help so many black people get into real estate. It's like we're still building out. We have over 100 suburbs in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
And the thing is you're not selfish with knowledge. Because there's enough out here for everybody.
And most people ain't going to apply. You and I know that. You know how many times you sat down with people and you done gave them the whole game.
Right.
And then a year later, they're still complaining about the same thing.
This is a financial plan. This is all you got to do. I mean, it's cookie cutter. Like it's foolproof.
You never have to convince your target audience.
Wasted. I get frustrated because I have wasted hours, days, weeks, months just coaching. And then they turn around and do the same foolish stuff. So then it's like, okay, well, now we're done. You know what I do now, Gwen? I have a barrier of entry, right? The first thing I tell someone when they say they want help me is I'm like, you ain't ready. You don't want this shit. And my point in saying that is to see if they're going to really be ready. Because if I can say you ain't ready, you don't want this shit. And you say, okay.
And you say, okay, and you get mad at me, you just prove my point. Because you would have found something to get mad at me about later. You would have found a reason to fall off with me. I don't fall off with people, right? Rotten fruit falls from a tree by itself.
Right.
Now, if I did or said something that you didn't like, that's because it was accountability, right? So my thing is, if you can't even get past me telling you can't do something or be something, how are you going to go out there into the world and deal with people, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, then I give people a certain set of tasks, okay? If you ain't going to read or if you can't follow steps, if you can't get out of your own way and just follow another blueprint, because in order to be a good leader, you got to be a good follower.
Right.
You know, if you want to be a good speaker, you have to be a good listener. You got 2 ears, 1 mouth. You got to listen twice as much as you talk.
That's right.
If you won't shut up and take instructions, I can't work with you.
Right.
Because I'm going to say something to you that's going to make you extremely uncomfortable. And you're going to have to trust in your faith and your belief to know that you're walking in something blindly that's going to benefit you.
Right.
And if you don't see that, I can't help you.
Yeah.
And when I put those barriers in place, man, I sleep so good now. I'm not trying to say, my wife used to call me, she said, you always trying to save people. You go after the damsel in distress or the dame on demand, the dude that wants to be something. It's just like, let those people go. Like,
right.
if they want it, it's a boomerang effect. Throw it out there, it'll come back.
Right.
And if they want it, they'll get it. And if they don't, for
Right.
lack of better words, fuck them. Like
Right.
they're not gonna do it anyway. And it might be 20 years before they realize what you said was true.
Right.
And then you just tax them. Then okay,
Right.
the information done went up a little bit. I gave it to you
for real.
free back then.
Yeah.
So if you really want it, then you're gonna pay for
No,
it.
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I totally agree with that. I've gotten frustrated with people just giving and giving and giving because your time is valuable. You don't get that back.
You'll never get it back.
You're sitting there and you're just pouring into somebody and they're just, I don't know.
You're pouring into the wrong people.
Yeah.
I was doing that. I was you never have to convince your target audience. Like a person that needs what you have, God or the stars or whatever y'all subscribe to. I'm gonna say God because I'm talking about me. Those people will always align with you and they'll be sent your way and you'll be sent their way. And you don't have to convince them. But what was happening, and I've seen you do it too, is you were trying to get people that you love to do right by themselves.
Right.
And most people don't want to do
so that
right.
they can be where I am.
Yes,
and that they can, I'm not trying to be up here by myself. You know what I'm saying? It's cold and lonely sometimes. I want to dance up here at the top, but it's just, I don't know. I try to get people to come where I'm at, but
my uncle used to always say, if you have one friend, that's good. If you have two friends, that's extraordinary. And I never understood that until I got older, because what he was essentially saying was that, you can't take everyone with you. And the truth is everyone doesn't want to go. Some people are perfectly fine in their complacency. You start seeing things differently, should I say, when you start pursuing your purpose. You won't even recognize who you were. In the past. And a lot of people like being in those places. I mean, people that have been doing the same thing since high school.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, and they haven't elevated. I mean, you still see them working at Red Robin, you see them working at McDonald's, and it's like, you got to want something more for yourself.
Yeah. And I commend them for working. We ain't gonna shit on the fast food people, but what I'm saying is that's typical. A lot of people that we know that's our age, that's there, they do things from the standpoint of, well, this is enough to get me by.
Right. And what we shouldn't, and that's just living paycheck to paycheck. Because if a emergency happens, I guarantee you that what they've been making from these fast food places is not enough.
It'll bankrupt them.
Yes.
It'll bankrupt them.
And that's what I'm saying. So you should want more. And I try to live my life to show them that you can be more. I mean, I worked hard, sleepless nights. I know you know.
Oh, you know,
there's just nights you just don't sleep because there's an idea that popped in your head and you got to get it down and you got to make it make sense.
Man, you preaching right now.
You know what I'm saying? Like you just don't sleep. And I had my mother-in-law one night over at my house and I was just up and I'm just writing. I had ideas just in my head and I'm just writing one idea and then it bled to another one. I'm like, okay, I'm leave that there. And I'm going and she comes out the room and she's like, what are you doing? And I said, I'm just working. I got these ideas and I think it's going to work. And she's like, you need to get some rest. And I said, I can't sleep. There's no way I can go to sleep right now. Like I am fired up. And then I couldn't wait. It was too late or too early in the morning to call my mom. Cause like, that's my cheerleader. Like she's like, okay, yeah. Let's do it. Or she'll help me tweak it or whatever. And so it's just like, in having those, my mom has, a business she started years ago, Millennium Millionaires. Yeah. And so it's like her Wi-Fi at her house too, right? So when my sister got her house, I was like, well, we're gonna be bossy billionaires, right? So whatever. But I mean, mom laid the groundwork. She put it out there, even if it wasn't manifested, even if we weren't millionaires yet, she manifested. She spoke that into our lives. My girls will be millionaires. Whether you guys inherit it, whether you guys work for it, you guys are millionaires. And that is your mindset that you have to have. And so that when I walk around, I was like, I'm a millionaire. You know what I'm saying? Shoot, look at when you add up all your assets, your mindset is, I mean, your brain is your moneymaker. And so sometimes I go to bed and I'm like, I said, God, just give me that one idea. And I look at like little things on like Temu and I'm like, and that's so simple. It costs $1. You get 5 million people to buy it for $1. There you go.
The idea, Gwen, is the validation. And what happens with most people is when they get the idea, they start asking the wrong people that never got that idea. And so what happens is people will naturally say, oh, that's not going to work. Not because they're hating on you, but because they wouldn't pursue it themselves because it's not their idea. Right. But you said something that shows me like, I believe in alignment. I believe in all that stuff. Wednesday night, this whole week I couldn't sleep because I was just anticipating coming out here. Like, this is a homecoming for me. Wednesday night, I did not go to sleep. I couldn't sleep to save my life. I went on my patio. You know, recently gotten to smoking cigars. I'm an old cat now. So I'm out there watching the TV on my little cover patio, smoking a cigar, got the fire pit going. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. I was texting Charles, who's here. I'm like, bro, I cannot sleep. I'm up. He's like, man, we can't wait to see you. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write this ebook. I'm up. I might as well write the ebook. So I literally got up at 3 o'clock. I got up. I went into my office and I wrote the ebook from start to finish. Until I started like 3:30 and I got done at like 6:30. And so then I paused it. I said, all right, stop. Let me go do my other stuff. I got some errands to run. Send it over to the editor. Send it over to my wife and had her read it. She did some stuff. And then I got on the plane and I said, I'm going to sleep on this plane. But the ebook still wasn't done. I paid for the Wi-Fi and I finished all the edits from the editor and from my wife. I got all the images and I finished the ebook when I got, and I tried to upload it, but them plain Wi-Fi is spotty. Got to the hotel the next night or that night, went to sleep. Next morning I got up, finished that book.
Period.
Like, I know that book is going to make me a decent amount of money, but it's going to change some people's lives. But the fact that I wouldn't go to sleep until it was done, and people don't understand that about people like you and I. Once we get that idea, it has to be manifested. Like God won't let you won't have any peace
until
it's done.
And a lot of people will look at that and be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do an ebook and it'll take them months, years. And what took you less than 12 hours,
bruh,
to sit there and just jot these things down. You got your team in place. You got your help, your wife, and then you got your editing team. Get this thing knocked out. Things that you can get done, get it done. You can move on to the next.
And let me throw a little play out there for y'all. My editing team is Fiverr. You find a person that can edit stuff on Fiverr, they'll charge you $40, $35, $50 on Fiverr to go through. These are people that have master's degrees, PhDs that freelance edit. Y'all, it don't cost you anything. But see, y'all are too afraid to do that. And then you can have it rushed. I always pay to get it rushed. So it'll cost me $60 to have it rushed.
Right.
They send it back to me in a couple of hours. Then me and my wife go back and tweak it, and it's done. Like, I wrote that book in a 12-hour span.
And in the first hour of you publishing the book, you done paid for all of your stuff.
I was literally at the event last night, and I started getting notifications of people buying my book. And then my friends who have big followings on, hey, send me an affiliate link. So they'll get a percentage of the book. Right. So now they put it in the email and send it out to their database of 20,000 people, 5,000 people. Now their people are buying the book. And all it did was took me 12 hours, of my time that I would have been watching TV or tripping out doing nothing. And just a little perseverance.
Again, you will not be outworked.
Ain't nobody outworking me.
Ain't nobody gonna outwork you,
Ain't nobody outworking me, Gwen. All right. Well, Gwen, this is what we finna do. We finna wrap up the show.
Okay.
So I end my shows the same way every time. One of my favorite movies in the world is Back to the Future. I love the series. Part 2 is my favorite one because it's based in the future. They go back to the past and come back to change the future. So a character named Biff. Have you seen the movie?
No.
Okay, this is my favorite movie. So I'm appalled that you haven't seen it. Have you seen The Shawshank Redemption? Okay, you sleeping, you tripping right now. I'm gonna send you a list of movies to watch the next time you fly.
Send it to me because you know I'm not a big movie guru, but send it to me.
So Biff is like he's like a character on there who's just all over the top. He gets into the time machine. He goes back to the 60s and he finds himself. He takes what's called a sports almanac that has every score to every sports event that happened between 1955 and let's just say 2015. And he gives it to himself. He says, "Hey, dummy, I'm you from the future. Take this book, bet on this stuff, and thank me later." He gets back into the time machine. He goes back and he's a trillionaire. Like he's in control of the world. He's got this super tall tower that's big. I mean, he's the guy. Right. And so the whole premise of the movie is to go back to the future, undo what he did so that the world is better.
I see.
If Gwen could get into the DeLorean time machine and go back to see Gwen, little 18-year-old Gwen, at the Kashim Club, at Club Millennium, right? The best non-alcoholic drinks in town, right?
Listen, yeah.
And you see yourself walking down a lonely hallway. It's just you and an 18-year-old you, and you guys catch eyes and you see familiar and you say, "Hey, I'm you from the future. Here's one piece of advice that's going to change our lives forever." What would that be?
I would say make sure to always honor and respect your mother and father. At that time in my life, I had left home. I was out there on my own.
Yeah.
I think things would have played out. I'm grateful for my life right now.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been a little bit easier had I not left prematurely and delayed me just jumping out there. I was just being hard-headed. I wasn't into, there was no boys and no craziness like that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get a job. My mama said no. And I should have listened because her reasoning must have been for a good reason.
Yeah.
She just said, it's not the time. I want you to focus on your studies, to focus on school. And I went out there, I got a job. And she said, listen, if you're going to disobey whatever, and I just hard-headed, I just left and didn't come back. I would have said, sit your butt down and be still and listen to your mom. Parents may or may not have it right, but at the end of the day, they're going to always have your back.
Your best interest.
Yes. And so, and during that 2-year span where I wasn't at home with mama, I made some choices and decisions that weren't the greatest, but God's grace and mercy. I think about the prodigal son. Yeah. And when I approached mama and I said, Ma, can I come home? It just opened the doors up.
What took you so long?
Yeah, what took you so long, And I think she had a conversation with my little sister and was like, hey, Gwenny wants to come home. My sister was jumping up and down for joy, And but she opened the arms and the floodgates of blessings that were waiting for me. And it wasn't like money and things. It was just like opportunities.
It was
wisdom, opportunities. Okay, now you're going back to college. Mom was paying for college. Like I didn't have to go and struggle to figure that out. I was able to finish my bachelor's, finish my master's, and take care of all those things, and eventually get married and have that support. And I couldn't imagine getting married at that point in my life without my mom being there. So being able to go back at 17, 18 years old and just making that one little tweak of staying, maybe I'd have been a little bit more further along in my success.
But you pretty far
maybe
along.
By like 3 years or something. I had a little delay, but it could have been much worse. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't out there, smoking, drinking, and doing crazy.
You didn't do any of that stuff. I never knew you to be a smoker or a drinker. And Alaska's a place where people can come and get high and get drunk and have a good time. Alcoholism is the number one thing up here.
Yeah, that wasn't my thing. It was just me being hard-headed because I wanted to get a job.
You just like to party. You like to go to the club.
I like to be with people. I love to be with people.
Gwen used to be all up in that club.
I was, man. But you know what? My mama used to be in the casino too. So, they used to get down in the 70s from what I understand.
Man, they tore it down.
Yeah, I know.
They tore down our old dorms too.
Oh, did they?
Man, my heart was broke, man. So I was rolling down. I was like, where's the casino? The bowling alley. Because that's what we did. That was the first time I met you, actually. I met you at the bowling alley.
Oh, yeah.
So remember we all went bowling?
Yes.
Yeah. And I brought my my roommate. Remember? Oh, this is all coming back to me. And he was, to give y'all context, my roommate was the whitest white guy you'd ever meet from the whitest town in South Carolina that you'd ever find. And so the idea that he was going on a date in his mind with a pretty black girl, it was just like, he went home and journaled about it, man.
Right.
And Gwen and your friend showed up. I ain't gonna say her name. She showed up. I was hanging out with a friend and Gwen was just kind of tagging along and my roommate was tagging along. Boy, that made his day.
Man.
I think until this day, whenever they ask him if he ever dated outside his race, I think he tells people, I once went on a date with a black girl. And if he found out she was Miss Alaska, that's he ain't gonna know what to do. That was the first time we met. And so, but no, man, I just want to thank you so much for being you, man.
Thank you. This got me out and, introduced me to a different platform. I like this. This is pretty dope.
You know what? I would challenge you to start podcasting because you have a unique story. You're a woman. Women do very well in podcasting. You're pleasant on the eyes. You live in Alaska. You're an investor like, Gwen sells Alaska or Gwen foster care. Like, I think that if you were to start a podcast, I'm going to speak it right now, that you would probably have like 100,000 subscribers and a lot of people following you because you just have it. I always explain some people have it and some people don't.
Right.
And it can be measured. It's intangible, but it when it walks in the room. When they walk into a room, you're drawn to it. Right. And I tell my son all the time, son, you're different. You have it. You just need to understand that you're going to make mistakes. You're going to do some things that you shouldn't be doing, but you're going to always get caught. Yeah. Because that life ain't for you. I always got caught every time.
Every time you're doing something, I tell my kids too, I was like, I don't have to go looking for it.
Yeah.
It's going to come. Because what I'm saying? First of all, I'm a praying woman. So the Lord gonna shed some light on some things that you're doing if it's shady. You feel me?
Yeah.
But Tim, we got to get you back up here to do a showcase and a mentorship for our youth up here.
Let's do it.
You gotta come back. I can get the kids. I can get it going. We got a partnership on that.
I see that you, I know you are AKA, and I saw y'all recently did something with the Capitals up here, the Anchorage alumni chapter. Shout out to the Noops, man. It's J5 was yesterday. Yo to the Noops. hoops.
Okay,
But
congrats, y'all.
like, let's put something together because I know that they do a lot of community service up here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm always looking for a reason to get more points so I can keep my status with American Airlines.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But just get at me, man. I'm a phone call away.
Okay.
You're like me. You're always busy doing something. So if you reach out to me and I don't respond, just text me. I'll get back to you. Charge to my head, not my heart, because I'm just always on the go. And I'm touring the documentary this year, so I'm gonna be gone a lot. But I am also trying to keep my status, my Marriott status, and
listen,
my
I feel
you know, you get it.
I
You
went
understand
Alaska
the game.
Airlines. Alaska's mine, and I'm with.
You know, they're partnering with American too, ain't
I
they?
know.
They're part of the American whole tree. It was something that happened in the news, like a window or something blew off the plane. Did you see that?
Yes.
So why somebody text me like, Tim, you wasn't on that plane? I'm like,
I would have cried. I don't know. I probably would have passed out.
Yeah.
Like, that is just so scary. I saw it last night, like just in the air. They did just take off in Portland.
Yeah.
16,000 feet. Boom, window
That's
guard.
crazy.
I just can't even imagine that.
I couldn't imagine that either, man.
I can't imagine.
Well, Gwen, where can they find you?
They can find me, man. Let's see. I'm on IG, the original Queen G. That's me. Facebook, Gwynnedolynn James. My name is like 13 letters long.
So wait a minute. Let's tell a story about that. So I was going to look for you. I'm like, I can't find it. So it's GWYNNN or something like that. Then it's like you put like extra letters. I'm like, what is she doing?
I didn't give myself my name. I'm named after my mother.
Yeah.
Her name is the original Gwendolyn,
Okay,
right?
cool,
So
cool.
GWEN,
Yeah.
right? But mine, of course, she knew I was going to be extra.
I mean,
So she
extra.
gave me some extra letters. So it's GWYNNE,
Yeah.
DOLYNNE. Last name is James. I'm there. I'm here. I'm in Anchorage, but right now we're in basketball season. I do coach. I
didn't know that. You did because you was like, Tim, I don't know if I can make the podcast. What time? I'm like, I didn't know you coach.
Yeah, I do coach. I coach JV basketball for East Anchorage High, my alumni. My daughter plays varsity there, and like she's a junior, so I'm just, she wants to play college ball. We're gonna see what it takes to get her there, but that's like my heart, and so I try not to miss none of her stuff, none of my babies, my basketball babies, none of their stuff. So that's just where I'm at right now. So until the season's over at the end of February, I kind of stay planted unless I take like a little Sunday getaway and back. But I'm here, guys. Like, hit me up. I'm so grateful that you hit me up to do this.
Dog, get at me. My wife was a basketball coach.
Okay.
So she, my wife played basketball up until the college level. So I understand that coach life. Like, she won a championship for her team. She was a middle school coach.
Okay.
And so she never went into high school. She didn't want to deal with the high schools, but she
Yeah,
actually won a
it's
championship
different.
at middle school level. And I have a video of my wife cooking my son. I mean, she cooked him on the court. We
Oh,
just in
shoot.
slow-mo. He's like, I can beat you. Me. And she was like, come on, let's go out there. Man, she crossed him over so bad. So I get that basketball life. And then the volleyball life, the travel teams, that's really expensive too. It's really time consuming.
It is. It's
Yeah.
expensive. It's time consuming. But again, with your community, fundraising and all of that. And if you put yourself out there and you make a difference in other kids' lives, it's going to come back to you into your kids' lives. And that's all I pour into others that they may pour into mine.
Let me tell you.
That's how I feel.
Let me tell you the fundraiser that I hate the most because I fall for it every time, that popcorn.
Oh,
Well, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know.
Oh my God.
the popcorn and the chocolate one. They got that one.
And when I don't care who sent me, it's got to the point where I don't even look at the link no more. No, I mean, I'm addicted to it. Well, listen, Gwen, we're going to wrap up the show right now. I want to thank you so much for coming out. It's a pleasure to see you. It's always a blessing to be in your presence. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep shining. Like, people are watching you. I always tell people, like, don't give up on what you're doing because there's literally somebody out there praying for God to send you into their life so their lives can be changed. So keep being out front with it. I think that when you think about this culture, all of the ratchet shit and all the stuff that makes us look bad, we can be really loud with that and it's perfectly fine. But the moment we want to do something that's going to show us in a good light, we have to be quiet. We have to be humble. We have to be modest. No. We need to offset some of that bullshit.
Right.
And so that's what this whole podcast is about. Just showcasing people that we call regular people that are doing extraordinary things. As many relationships I've built, in the sports community, entertainment community, being on TMZ with clients, being a former zoning commissioner in politics. I don't bring any of those celebrities on this show because I want to showcase people that are just like the people who watch my show, who are doing some amazing things. So with that being said, it's your man, Tim Jackson. This is the No More OGs podcast. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, click the links below. Watch the documentary, Tim Jackson Presents How to Kill a Black Man. Get the book, Real Dope, an in-depth comparison between real estate and the dope game. 100% of the proceeds go to Real Youth Mentoring. You all keep shining. Stop dimming your light. Stop being afraid. Stop tiptoeing around your greatness. The idea is the validation. Once that idea is placed in your head, you need to pursue that idea with conviction because you are not going to have peace in your life as long as that idea is sitting idle. But that's all I got from you guys. Streaming live from beautiful Anchorage, Alaska. Y'all, this is not a backdrop. That is really Anchorage, Alaska, and a frozen ocean behind me. I'm downtown. Y'all know how I go. Whenever I go anywhere, I stay downtown. Give me a view because if I can do it, so can you. This is your man, Tim Jackson. This is the No More OGs podcast. I will see you soon. Peace, and I love you guys.